Earlier this week, the Biden administration announced a 100-day pause on deportations of most people living in the country illegally, along with a new, quote, priority system for everyone still subject to removal. It's all coming in a DHS memo, which outlined new categories of immigration, which include migrants at the border who arrived after November 1 last year. Also includes people who pose a national security or public safety risk, or anyone convicted of an aggravated felony, and also issued new instructions on construction of the border wall, which will obviously not continue under President Biden as it did under President Trump. Victor Avila is joining us now. He's a retired supervisory special agent with ICE and Homeland Security. He's the author of a book called Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. Victor, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
So the changes that we've seen just in the 7 days of the Biden administration have in my opinion, devastated the progress that had been made to protect our borders under President Trump, and I think put all of us in this country at risk economically and perhaps with personal safety.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of glad that at least the 100 days for now has been on hold by a federal judge out of Texas, which is good news for now. But you're absolutely right. I'm not sure how these actions by the Biden administration with executive orders are going to help secure our border and keep our community safe. And it kind of goes beyond just kind of undoing the Trump administration's immigration policies. One thing is to keep in mind that you don't like him, and you didn't like Trump, and you didn't like the administration, so be it. But the reality is that we still have illegal immigration. We still have record numbers of heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamine coming through our borders and endangering our communities. And that's where the focus should be. And that's where I think the existential threat that today they talk about climate change as being that. I think the existential threat is our southern border, and because nothing has been done about it. And now that the message has been sent down by the Biden administration that it's going to be practically wide open, well, here they come. You've seen the caravans already forming, and they're going to hit our southern border, and our CBP and Border Patrol agents are getting ready to process these individuals. But here's the key. They're going to process them to identify them, but then allow them into the country because they've gotten rid of catch and release. And so, or I should say reinstated catch and release, where they catch them and release them into our country. And guess where these individuals go? They go to our communities, especially immigrant communities, and endanger them because a lot of these individuals, not all of them, but a lot of them are criminal, illegal aliens that come with other intentions and to commit crimes in our country.
Yeah, I should clarify my introduction of you, Victor, and just the same way that you just did, as I say that this is putting the country in as a national security risk, an economic risk, and a public safety risk. That's not to say that everybody that comes into our country legally or illegally is coming here to kill us or to ruin this country. However, as a general problem, there are a lot of bad people coming through illegally. If our country was built on immigrants, without a doubt, immigration is crucial to our country and the fabric that is the United States of America. And I respect and encourage legal immigration. But what we're seeing at our southern border now, and have even under President Trump, is just lawlessness. And now that President Trump has lost and Joe Biden has been in office for a week, we're seeing a second, even larger migrant caravan begin to form and head north. And as you look at the images, and you've seen the reporting from Guatemala and the southern border, these are not families and children and women who are fleeing for their own safety or for the hope that America provides. They're young 20-something men, and that's setting us up for future potential problems. Is the best way that I can just summarize the situation.
It's a very great summarization, and I actually outline that in my book because and I'm the first one to say it. You know, we're humanitarians. We understand that most of these migrants that come are economic migrants. They want to do better because their countries Central America, Mexico, and other countries have failed them. But at what point is the United States going to say, listen, we have a border, we have a sovereignty to protect as well, and it goes beyond just the illegal immigration. It goes into the human trafficking, the human smuggling, the drugs, and the crime that are committed within our communities in Chicago, Maryland, Portland, and other cities that are related and directly related back to the cartels in Mexico. And at what point are we going to say, listen, we need to secure this border to be able to take care of our own people because we have our own issues? The statistics are coming out for 2020 on the overdoses of possibly over 80,000 individuals overdosing on drugs, and the fentanyl and heroin coming from Mexico. And so the ignoring of the issue is not going to go away. You know, I've heard people say, well, it's been very quiet down there. It actually has not.
No, it's
been
not
really, really active.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to get to that in a second. The story that's not been covered as much as it should be during the pandemic in the last 300 plus days is what this is doing to addiction in America and mental health in America. I mean, we already had an opioid problem of our own creation in many ways through the overprescription of painkillers for decades. But now that people are home and losing jobs, losing income, and we're losing hope in a lot of senses and stressed out beyond ever a point that we've ever seen before, and we have a lack of social interaction. Our mental health continues to suffer, and more people are turning to alcohol and drugs. I'm on the board for the Lucas County Sheriff's Office, a drug abuse response team, and we're seeing that increase in opioid deaths here in Lucas County in Northwest Ohio. And the drugs are coming in from the southern border. They're coming in from China, and we're not making enough efforts as a threat to our national security to prevent that.
That's what I think border security is now, is actually a national security issue. I outlined everything, all these issues. For example, what's going to happen with the amnesty? What's going to happen with the sanctuary cities? What's going to happen with the Remain in Mexico type of policies that are going to be undone and already becoming undone by the Biden administration? And the promises that they've said about setting up a path to citizenship. All it does is it's a magnet and an invitation for the rest of the world to come. And it's almost at a point where it's impossible for our U.S. law enforcement to vet every single individual from, and I'm not just talking about Mexico and Central America, I'm talking about special interest countries, and I'm talking about terrorism, of people that would specifically want to come here to commit, to cause us harm, and God forbid another 9/11 type of incident. But this is the way we have to think now, because those individuals take advantage of these vulnerabilities, of these open border policies, and will try to gain access to our country in that way.
And I think both political parties have their own motivations for allowing the illegal immigration to continue. Democrats want to expand their party and increase dependence on the federal government to strengthen their political position. And I think many Republicans for a long period of time have allowed illegal immigration as a way to lower the cost of the cheap labor workforce in many states. And both are bad for our country long term.
Yes, they both are, and we have to strike a balance here. I've been hearing the term immigration reform for I don't know how many years now, and it's almost been used as a punchline for votes or for whatever agenda either party wants to get. And the truth is that immigration reform is really needed, but immigration reform for me means national security and securing the border. A lot of the issues that we want to take care of within our country. For example, there's, they say 11 million. I think there's closer to 20, maybe 30 illegal aliens present in our country at this time. And you possibly cannot deport them all at once. But even if you did, let's say we get rid of them all at once and send them back to their home countries. If the border is not secure, they're gonna come right back, and it's gonna be in this cycle that we've been seeing for so many years now. And I think the imminent threat is in Mexico, and it's with these criminal organizations, these cartels that I think should be designated as foreign terrorist organizations because the influence they have in Mexico and in the government is directly affecting us in our communities around our country and around 40 countries abroad as well.
Interesting stuff. We're talking to Victor Avila. The idea of declaring these cartels to be a terrorist organization is an interesting concept. I think that our criminal justice system is putting too much of an emphasis on some drug crackdowns in the U.S., like marijuana, which I think is just simply feeding into the prison industrial complex in an area where criminal justice reform is needed. But we've certainly got to stop the opioids, cocaine, fentanyl from coming into our country and killing Americans and creating a bigger addiction problem. Long term, with 20 million plus illegal immigrants in this country, there is no way to deport them all, even if you want to make the argument that you should. But before we can even discuss amnesty, before we can discuss a path to citizenship, which I think should be difficult if you came into the country illegally, before those things can even be addressed, we've got to secure the border. If you're just going to grant amnesty to 20 million illegals and leave the border open, you're going to have another 20 million illegals to grant amnesty to in 10 years. It's a problem that even Ronald Reagan didn't address when we dealt with this 35 years ago.
That's absolutely right. And I think the relationship with Mexico, as much as we say it, I worked there. I worked the border. I worked in Mexico. And, this president has been helpful when it comes to the immigration part of it and trying to hold some of these caravans back from entering Mexico in the first place, but has ignored the violence of the cartels completely. But let's see what the Biden administration and what kind of relationship they establish with the president over there and see if somehow they can work together to combat some of these issues because Mexico suffers as well. Their people are in shambles. Their economy is in shambles. COVID hasn't helped. We have cities like El Paso, Texas, that has been overrun by COVID. And we have, these caravans coming. And so now we have a health crisis as well because it's not just COVID that a lot of people are bringing, but it's a lot of other health issues that they bring along as well. And so it's a big, broad picture that I think needs the real reform. It might be complicated on the surface, but once you look into it, I think it could be done, and it could be a collaboration between the local, state, and the federal government to work together with Mexico to have a control of the border. When there's no control there, like you said, everything else is kind of hard to deal with.
Victor Avila, the book is Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. Tell us about the book here real quick before we're out of time. Yeah,
the book, I primarily wrote it back in 2011, February 15th of 2011, which will be 10 years next month. Special Agent Jaime Zapata and I were ambushed by the Zeta drug cartel, the Mexican drug cartel. Agent Zapata tragically lost his life in the line of duty. I was shot 3 times, and I'm speaking to you here by the grace of God. And so I outlined the shooting in detail, tell people about my career. And then on the second part of that manifesto is I outline real solutions that we can take care of. And I have chapters on sanctuary cities, the cartels, DACA, asylum, and really lay out all my experience on there and what we can do to help solve all these issues.
Victor, the book, by the way, is agentunderfirebook.com. Victor, love to have you on again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Scott.